Good evening, everybody. All right, there's some good profits being made in this market. Now, obviously, the market itself doesn't look real trendy, pretty choppy, but the underlying factor in all this is right now we're back up above the T-line, so come back to this type of setup a little bit later. I guess we better do it now or I'll forget. There's been a lot of times where I've closed out positions on a day like today or that day right there. Because at that point, if you cut the chart off, which way is the market going? I have no idea. Which means you probably got a lot of charts that are looking the same way. So this is one of the hurdles that I had to overcome because I love to trade. I would still try to figure out what to trade here versus sitting back and saying, I don't know what's going on. Let me sit for a day or two and see what the result of this market is. So obviously we can see on Friday, huge up day. From here to here, looks about the same as from here to here. But the underlying factor was we're pretty much trading back up above the T-line. What do I want to do to get started here? This is the S&P 500, same chart. Let's take a look at the positions that we've got and why they seem to be working well. The ones we recommended today, PLTA was just a perfect setup. You can see the bobble breakout. So you can see that as soon as this opened positive, knowing this was a resistance level, we could already calculate which direction it was going. It's going in this direction. Now it's just a magnitude decision. If this is wave 1, wave 3 probably should bring you up in about this area. So there's two factors used for entering a trade that you know the expected results. The light gray line, I think, in this one is the 34 EMA. And so your major moving averages, if I can find them here in a second. Oh, now I forgot what I was going to illustrate. But HEES was recommended also because we could see the pattern setting up. A fry pan bottom, E-line crunch, push through the 50. If it opened positive, it was pretty much telling us this fry pan bottom pattern was continuing. And we recommended rare based upon this signal right here. Down day, the next day they gapped it up and did a doji. Doesn't look impressive. But the results can be calculated with a high degree of probability. We know the doji rule, that if it opens positive, it's going to trade positive. And if it trades positive, what type of pattern do we have right here? A bullish bullish flutter kicker, which is a good implication there's going to be more upside. So when you have a market like this, the advantage we have as analyzing the different signals and patterns is being able to identify high probability trade setups, meaning pattern breakouts or pattern setups that are going, if they open correctly, are going to produce a high probability result. Now, why is that important? Well, obviously, you always want to be in the right direction at the right time. But on a market condition like this, where early in the day you didn't really know where it was going, you're much better off being able to identify a pattern that you recognize and it's opening in the correct direction. Even though the market may not be as resilient as you'd like, at least you know you're in an individual stock chart pattern that has a high degree of probability of moving in the right direction. So because of the simple elements that we can see graphically, here's our bullish doji sandwich. Now, what's different about this bullish doji sandwich? First of all, after the bullish engulfing signal, they gapped it up. After the doji, they gapped it up. So you got a bullish doji sandwich that's being formed by exorbitant strength. What's that imply? There's going to be a lot more upside in this trade. That's TIVA. Started buying TIVA calls today with the expectation that your first target is probably up here at the 50. Going to see if there might not. I was going to say there might be a gap there. It doesn't look like it's actually a gap. But this would be your first anticipated target. Now, going back to what I was trying to illustrate by being in the right trades at the right time, this market was good today, but I bet you that 30 or 40% of trades were down. Probably another 10, 15% were relatively flat, which meant there was probably 30 or 35% of the trades that were trading positive today, which means it's still a pretty good bullish day. However, because of the knowing that you're in the right trade at the right time or getting into positions that are demonstrating good bullish confirmation, at least you know you're probably participating in that 35% that's moving positive during a positive market. Now, which calls is up to each individual. Now, I can't remember on TIVA whether it's just the monthly calls versus some have weekly. But if TIVA is just a monthly call, meaning the January calls expire on the 18th of, what is today? 7th. On the 18th, 2 weeks, or about 10 trading days from now, probably those are the ones to be buying. You've got 2 weeks. So the anticipation is, over the next 2 weeks, hopefully you're still in a good uptrend. But after 2 weeks, we don't know whether there's going to be profit taking or not. So going out to February doesn't make too much sense unless you are more comfortable with going with a longer term trade setup. So, Pat. Okay, so yeah, if it has weekly, I couldn't remember. You can pick out how long you might want to go out, whether you want to trade real short and trade this Friday's options, or whether you want to go out 3 weeks from now. Cat, no, you can't sit here. Okay, we got a cat sale going on again. Lowest bidder gets this cat. Cat, I haven't seen you all day. And now when I get on the microphone, jump in here. Let's just kick your grandmother. Okay. We also been buying Roku calls. Now Roku had a good reversal down here. Look at all the elements of a reversal that we can put into this, analyzing this reversal. A doji, a good distance away from the T-line in the oversold area, followed by a gap up the next day, showing you there is probably uptrend starting. Straight. This cat just drives me to drink. You're sitting right on my notes here. Oh, man. No. So, as you can see, there was a big explosion in price on Roku. Now, did we know that was coming? Definitely not. But I always reiterate the fact that if you're buying strong bullish signals and patterns, the probabilities of being in situations like this are greatly enhanced because all you're doing is following the fact that the bulls are starting to take control for some reason. We don't need to know what the reason is. We just need to know that they're moving in the right direction and we're buying something that's moving in the right direction. Kind of the same scenario for Netflix. Notice all the elements of Netflix, a bullish engulfing signal, and kind of a bullish doji sandwich that broke through the T-line. Okay, cat. Go throw the garbage can. Doji sandwich. Another doji sandwich. Where's your next likely target? Probably up to the 200. Buying calls right here. Sold half of them right here because that might have been a resistance level. But the other half is still moving very nicely. Here is another strong chart, LCI. Now, this is where the chat room is very advantageous because you got people like Trader Abe that identified this fairly early. So the good thing about having people that are experienced at candlestick analysis is if you follow some that already have learned, oh, this cat is just driving me crazy. Cat, come over here. I know. Things are tough all over. Once again, if you can see the pattern setting up, you understand if you see a bunch of dojis in the oversold area and you start coming back up, you can see the trajectory of the next pattern, a fry pan bottom. If you see a gap up in the overbought condition, remember SP, that's if it's way up in the overbought condition, that's telling you now start watching for selling. That's that exuberant buying at the top. So, Clovis, we started buying this one today because notice the little doji sitting right here on the 50 on the T-line, and they gap it up. Where do you think the next target could be? Probably somewhere up in this trajectory. And why would we think it could be that strong? Because we've got the best friend signal right here. Oh, going back to this, just because somebody emailed me today and said, well, your morning comments, the stock was already up 10% when we got your comments. The answer to that is the morning comments are just a follow-up on what has been recommended. So everybody that's a member of the Candlestick Forum should be aware that they can go late at night or first thing in the morning to the stock picks area. And it's usually going to be oriented toward what you'll see in the 2-minute video, whether we think the market's heading up, heading down, heading sideways, which will also be reflected in if there's 3 bullish picks, means the market's kind of oriented toward heading up. If there's 3 bearish picks, obviously down. If there's 2 longs and 2 shorts, it's going to be based upon how the market opens the next day, which way you want to go. On something like this, Jay, yes, this is just your first day of the breakout. So you can see the obvious resistance. You can see the T-line crunch. You can see the bobble breakout. So how long do you hold on to this? Well, you kind of expect this type of move. But then the true trend change is when you see a candlestick sell signal. CRTK, we recommended a little bit ago. Remember, there's your left-right combo and Morningstar type signal and a big bullish signal. Remember, the bigger this signal is, the more compelling there's been a change of investor sentiment. You may not have bought here, you may not have bought here, but you could probably be buying here or even on this day because that was your Morningstar left-right combo, bullish engulfing, close above the T-line, and your stochastics heading up. This is exactly what you're training yourself to look for, are these support, signals in the oversold area. Yeah, if you want to take a look at the monthly or the weekly, anything that you can add, we'll try it. There's the weekly chart. I wouldn't say that was a monthly support. It was just to see what's happening on a monthly basis. You've got another bullish harami. But I'm not trading long enough to make the weekly or monthly relevant. I'm trading in here expecting that over maybe the next 3, 5, 7 trading days, it might move up another 20%. Twitter, we had recommended a while back. Well. It didn't get started. There was a Morningstar signal. Didn't get started. But then you had your inverted hammer, bullish confirmation. That's telling you Morningstar signal, consolidation, another buy signal. Usually if you're coming out of the oversold area and you have a buy signal, not confirming, then you have another buy signal. That's pretty much telling you, did I do the wrong one? That's telling you the bulls are taking control. PTLA. Yeah. There's the weekly. Yeah, there's the monthly kind of holding in here. But again, that's less relevant to me anyways. What's relevant is this pattern right here. I may only own this for another 2, 3, 4 days. What it does on a weekly or monthly basis, I don't really care. Unless it goes into a steady eddy. Then I might hold on to it for 30 days as long as there's not a sell signal and a close below the T-line. UNT, there was your left-right combo. Not quite a reversal signal, but telling you there was buying, not confirmation. But then remember, your left-right combo fits right up there pretty close to the best friend signal. That it's even more compelling. I'd say more compelling. If I see a left-right combo and I was short, I'd close it on the formation of the left-right combo. Don't necessarily need to wait for the confirmation. However, if I'm ready to buy and I see a left-right combo, I'm buying pretty quick on the bullish confirmation because if they confirm a left-right combo, you've got pretty strong odds that it's going to trade higher. Venda we're holding on to. Again, the bigger this signal right here, the more compelling. There's been a reversal, and you can see kind of the pattern here, a fry pan bottom, and this is where I use the term observe the obvious. Yeah, Morningstar signal, smack dab on the 50 in the oversold area, closing above the T-line. That makes for all the correct elements to start buying. There's a big bullish engulfing left-right combo with a booster after a Morningstar signal. Now we're just about at the breakout area with some juice left in the stochastic. If it moves up higher, good prospect that it could go back up to the top of this channel. MITK. As long as it stays above the T-line, we're holding on to this one. And MAG, unlike the gold stocks, the silver stocks are still working well. Now we're in the we're in the overbought area. We had a doji. So where is the high prospect stop loss place to put your, where's the best place now to put your stop? There you go. At the low of the doji. If it comes back down through the bottom of that doji, where's it heading to? Probably coming back down to test the T-line. Okay, so silver is acting well. But we can see that gold is starting to get a little bit toppy. Not anything real drastic. However, look what's happening in the gold stocks. Nugget, a bearish engulfing signal, not going anywhere. Now, gold is still going up, but they're selling this off. We closed out KL on Friday because look what happened. It actually gapped down toward the low end of the range and went south. Now, was there, you can see it didn't close below the T-line, so why close it out? Because that was kind of a strong selling force, and gold was looking a little toppy. It was time to probably take some profits because the prospect was starting to look weak. Same scenario on AEM. That gap down, even though it stayed above the T-line on Friday, was telling you there was some selling coming into this one. And look what happened in SA. SA came back up, but look where it opened. Below the low of that candle and did a doji. So what did that tell us about a lower open today? Basically have a bearish flutter ticker, a strong reversal. So there's going to be times, that's the KL, there's going to be times when it's not actually closing below the T-line, but you're getting a strong sell signal. And all the other indicators that would tell you that this sector might be losing steam, like gold itself starting to sell off, take profits. There's always going to be a nice chart that looks something like this somewhere else, where you know the probabilities. You're not guessing, or you're not hoping that it's staying in a bullish direction. So an easy way to tell which sector you want to be in. Labu, Morningstar signal, bullish confirmation. What's it tell you about the biotechs? You probably want to be looking at some of the biotechs if you're not buying Labu as a trade by itself. You go and check out that sector, stocks trading in that sector. On the other hand, you got something like Nugget. That's telling you that sector is starting to get a little bit weak. You come out of the gold stocks and go someplace else. Like, oh man, you can see what's happening in crude oil. Let me make this a little bit smaller so you can really see what was happening. You can see what happened in crude oil. Came from about $75 a barrel over the last 2 months down to $42 a barrel. Now we're back up to $48.75. Also kind of a scoop pattern. Where do you think the price move could go to? Probably up to the handle, which would kind of coincide with the 50-day moving average. Let's see, well, AMD was the next one anyways. AMD broke downtrend. Yeah, you broke the 50, so you're in an uptrend based again on this Morningstar signal, and then they brought it back up above the T-line. But you had a lot of stocks like that, so it was just a matter of Roku was staying strong, had a strong chart. Netflix had a strong chart. However, things like Tesla didn't have as compelling a chart. Now, it's moving in the right direction, But I'd rather be trading something that I have a much more easy visual. So right now, that's not a great looking chart. It's probably heading up, but it's probably not the best of the big ones. Facebook is one that everybody likes to trade. However, that's not a real compelling chart either. So when I say it's not a real compelling chart, you can buy it, but I wouldn't be buying this one until they break the obvious, the 50-day moving average. Which means, and things like Apple, also, we're looking at things like Amazon. I skipped Amazon? Apparently it did. But Amazon had a nice, strong reversal signal. It was trading above the T-line. So look what's happening. This is just kind of Joel, Robert, hold on to your individual requests until I get to the end and I tell Jim to do the double line. Notice the difference. Amazon had a nice bullish chart, and it was acting bullish today. Apple doesn't really have any great chart, so it really didn't do much. So this is where the visuals can definitely put you in an advantage of being in the right trades at the right time based upon what the previous charts are telling us. So here's a stock that's at a breakout level. Morningstar signal. J-hook pattern. So what's a little obvious thing that we can identify in this J-hook pattern? Well, if this is wave 1, wave 3 doesn't look like it's quite as big as wave 1, which means if wave 1 goes up a little bit more, wave 3 goes up a little bit more, what's it telling us about the breakout level? It's breaking out. We've probably got some more potential upside just based upon the measurement of what normally happens in human nature creating a J-hook pattern. We can also identify things like crude oil starting to move back up. That makes us want to take a look at crude oil stock. There's Whiting with a good bullish chart. There's Basic with a very strong bullish chart. Why is this strong? Remember our simple rule. The bigger this signal is, the more compelling there's been a change of investor sentiment. A big bullish left-right combo. At least we know our first target is probably the 50-day moving average. Rig, bullish doji sandwich. Likely target, the 50-day moving average. And R, you can see the big fry pan bottom. You just stay long until you see a sell signal. Now, somebody was asking about the wheat stocks. Wheat stocks weren't doing anything of any great importance. Wouldn't be buying TR or TLRY. However, Crone, if I wanted to have money in that sector, Crone is kind of a cradle pattern and starting to move back up. I'd be more apt to be buying something that has an identifiable reversal signal to it. Part of that is because of that little doji sandwich after your kind of your cradle pattern breakout. GWPH, look at your doji sandwich breakout out of a scoop pattern setup. Where you think your first target's going to be, right here. Still probably a viable trade using options. Might buy something like the 117.50s and sell the 122.50s as a spread, anticipating that might be your first resistance level. Because of the visual of candlesticks, you can pretty much see what the strength of your move is, and you can pretty much see where everybody else is watching to see if that might be your next target. Etsy. Morningstar signal, J-hook pattern, and how the next wave of the J-hook start with your best friend signal. Potential to bring it back up here or even up into this trend area. AGIO. Another best friend signal. Breaking out through this downtrend. Viable target, the 50-day moving average. So some of these trades may not be huge price moves, but they give you at least a target to say, all right, what's my best strategy for setting up an option trade on one of these? CHRS. Doji, gap up, big move. What do we expect after a big move? More upside. Nice little slow curve, left-right combo, followed by a doji sandwich, followed by bullish confirmation. Where do we think our first target's probably going to be? Up here in this area. ADAP. What do we got going on right here? Kind of a little bobble breakout. Again, identify. Somebody was asking today whether they should buy a stock. I forget which one it was. It's already been moving up pretty good. Which one was it? I'll figure it out as we go along. However, if you see this, which is now probably a good prospect for a move, but let's say there wasn't a little J-hook in here. It was Roku, all right. Say this was a steady uptrend, heading up here, without a sell signal. So the question is, could it go higher? The answer is yes, but is it the best place to be buying? And the answer is no. So if something's already moving, a lot of us have movement envy. You see it's moving, could go higher, and we sit there thinking, oh man, do we want to, can we buy buying it? Because I hate missing out on something that's still moving. The answer is no, you should look at it, because if it's not a high probability place to buy, go backwards and say, all right, where was the place to buy? This is how I learned that if a strong move was occurring, what created that strong move? CHRS, what was? All right. Maybe, was it Kara? I think maybe it was, somebody was asking about Kara. Reverse engineering, that's right. So this one probably has more upside. But now you're looking at it climbing up toward the overbought area. So you have to go back and say, all right, instead of buying here, maybe I should have been buying down here because that's what started this uptrend. Learning to take profits. Yeah, now I have to do that myself. I have to always write down on my desk calendar that greed has killed more men than lightning. So I had some very good profits when Netflix hit here. So I took off half the position. And then it's got huge profits afterwards. So I always sit here and kick myself and say, oh man, why didn't I just hang on to the whole thing? Except if this had turned around and gone this way, and I didn't take any profits here, then I would have said to myself, what the heck were you thinking? You saw a resistance level, you saw it stalling a little bit. So we're in the business to take profits. And a lot of people I say a lot of people. A lot of people, like myself, have often seen something go up and you're happier than a pig in doo-doo, and then all of a sudden goes like this. You're thinking, man, why didn't I take some off the table when I saw it hit a resistance level? So I've discovered that very rarely you see a skyrocketing move like this. Most of the time you see up, down, up, down, up. In this case, it continues. So this is why I always say, stay long until you see a sell signal. Or if you see a viable spot that you think everybody else is taking profits, take profits when the probability say it's time to take some off the table. And the way I sleep at night is I might take half the position off. There's another J-hook pattern in Zen. So if this is wave 1 off this morning star signal, what's the magnitude of this wave? Probably up here. What's that tell us about our breakout level? The breakout level's not holding, so maybe we got the potential of going all the way up into this area. So anyways, right now there are some very good chart patterns setting up right at breakout levels. And this is where identifying a reversal and then identifying what everybody else is watching gives us a great advantage by knowing knowing what the signals are telling you at those levels. Okay, so that's about all we got for tonight. Are there any general questions on candlesticks? Marabuzzo is something that usually closes right at there's no shadow at the top. So, like, let's see if I can find something to illustrate. That's almost a Marabuzzo. Now, what is a Marabuzzo? How's it created? Well, you're long, everything looks good, it looks good. If you're short, you're going, and then finally on this day say, get me out, and you're still buying or covering your short position going right into the close. I say you. Short people are buying going into the close. Now you have to wait to see if the next day they start opening lower. That meant there was some last minute exuberant buying at the previous day or the previous time frame. That kind of exceeded the true value of where the trade should have been. Oh, cool. There's kind of your best friend signal. A doji followed by a gap up the next day. What ones were our ELVS? Kind of a doji, not quite a doji, but an indecisive day gap up. There was another one. That's more of a kicker signal. Bobble breakout, somewhat along the same lines as this one. Steve, no. This is the 50-day moving average based upon 50 days. You go to your 10-minute chart. That's the 50-day or the 50 moving average based upon your 10-minute chart. So they're what we call fractal, meaning every chart has the same indicators, same settings. They all look exactly the same. Maxwell, a bearish. Yes, a bearish best friend. Which tells you there's some good force to the downside, which may tell you might have a bearish J-hook pattern in progress. Yes, Marshall, if you see something, trying to think of, well, you see something like this. Well, in this case, it closes above the T-line. Look for a positive open. If you see something where the doji is right smack dab, I don't see it on this chart, but the most safest trade and the most profitable trade, which I could find one, is seeing a doji sitting right on the T-line, and then next day it gaps up. From there, you want to be buying immediately. A lengthy question. Let's say I had calls on Roku that are 1 or 2 strikes in the money that expire this Friday. And I need to really minimize my losses because of the pay the account. Towards the end of the trading day, would you sell or keep it for tomorrow? Seeing how often it is that there is profit taking after a big move. In short, in your experience, what are the odds that it would continue to go up or have profit taking? On something like Roku, you have to kind of analyze that you're not in the oversold area. You do have a big pop, obviously, and it didn't resist at the 50. So where do you think your next likely target might be? Up toward the 200. So if right now I've got some huge profits in this one, obviously. If it opened positive and started trading positive up here, the closer it got to the 200, even though it might not be in the overbought area and might not have a sell signal, then I would flip to my 10-minute chart to see if the 200 is going to be a selling spot. On the other hand, if it opened lower and started trading back below the 50, I'd probably close out the position because that's telling me the profit taking has started immediately. Roku also has 2 pivot points to get through before reaching the 200. Well, see, I'm not really concerned about that. I'm more interested in seeing is there still strength, and that gap up today told me he's probably maybe a 45 degree coming off of here. So that same scenario happened with Netflix on Friday. Big move, breakout, and still some more follow through. So as long as we see if there isn't any selling going on, don't know how far these prices are going to move. Okay. I guess, Jim, go ahead and do the double line, because I know most of you have one eye on the Alabama-Clemson game. SIG, now there was your doji. Look at your warning. What was your warning on this one? Anybody? Whoops, I won't be able to see the answers. What was your warning on this one? Yeah, your shooting star, but what was the warning before then? Notice where they gapped up. Just a very simple rule. There you go, Deanna. When you see a gap up in the overbought condition, start looking for selling. Where do most people buy? They buy exuberantly at the top. So these are just kind of common sense. I'm putting together going to be a separate training probably for a Wednesday night on the things that you look for to start indicating there's going to be a reversal in a trend, so that you're not sitting there all surprised when the trend reverses that you already kind of expected. So you're getting set up for it. SIGA, just stay long, use the T-line as your stop. Willow, gapped up today. I would just stay long on this one right now. Obviously, you've got a resistance level right here. Make sure it gets through that area. HYG. This is where when you had that best friend gap up, further confirmation, and what evidence was there that it wasn't slowing down? Went right through the 50. Tells you the 50 is probably not going to be a resistance level. LCI we still own. You can see where the breakout area was. You can see kind of the scoop pattern, fry pan bottom. So what do you do now? Expect a 45 degree. This is your typical chart right now. Reversals came up, lollygagged at the T-line, came up. I would watch to see what happens once you get to the 50-day moving average. Campbell's soup. I love Campbell's soup. Wouldn't necessarily be buying this one. Nah. Wouldn't have been buying it today, but would now start considering buying this one on positive trading tomorrow. Weight Watchers, that's why I have to gamble soup. You stay short until you see a buy signal. Pivotal software, you can see the scoop pattern. Another one, you stay long as it stays above, right now, the 50. Because if it came back down through the 50, what did it tell us about the breakout area of the handle? It didn't do it. You close it out. You could always buy it back when it comes back up through that area. SFIX, you can start buying this one. Your doji, harami, bullish confirmation. First target, second target, third target, fill in the gap, fourth target. Acadia, stay long. Obviously, watch to see what happens here at the 50. CYH, stay long. As long as it stays above the T-line, just make sure your volume stays hefty on this price stock. AMGN, stay long, J-hook pattern. Wave 1, wave 3 should test you into this area. Johnson & Johnson, nothing. Nothing. This is why when you see a buy signal after a big downtrend, I always say watch to see what it does if it bounces back up to the T-line. Couldn't get through. I wouldn't be long or short this one right now. Match. If you like it, you can stay long. As you can see, it's not a very, very resilient uptrend. And eat. Kind of a double doji setup. Stay long on this one. Don't let it close back below the 50. CGC is not one of your better ones. It does have a cradle type pattern. If I was buying this one, I would have a buy stop just above today's high. That would tell me the bulls are still in this. But I think Crone is a little bit more compelling with its cradle pattern and lots of strength coming off of it. Amazon we did, right? Amazon, because of the strength of the chart, is still moving positive. AMD, you can stay long on this one. Expect some more upside. It's not your greatest chart, but right now, if you like it, you can stay long. The Mary Janes, stay long. That one's a little bit more compelling. Do we do AMGN? Yeah, J-Hook, stay long. PRXC. This one you can be buying. Make sure your volume is hefty, meaning pretty close to 1 million shares. INSEE. Nice little scoop type breakout. In this case, you stay long until you see a sell signal. Kicker type signal on Southern Copper. Doji today. If it opens positive tomorrow, doing a doji sandwich after a kicker signal, you can be buying immediately. Patterson, left-right combo. Stay long until you see a sell signal. Roper, all you can do with this one is stay long as it stays above the T line. Nokia, kicker signal, moving this one up, but look where you are. You're right here at the breakout level. You can still be buying this one, especially if it opens up above that resistance level. IBM. IBM isn't much of a trader. Obviously, it has to get through the 50. If you like it, you could be buying it. If it opens lower tomorrow, obviously the 50 is going to be a resistance level. You come out of it until you see a strong enough buy signal to get you up through the 50. INVA, stay long. Obviously, you're at the resistance level on this one. It needs to get through that level. Audio, shooting star, right about this level. Use today's low as your stop. If it comes back down through there, this level was still acting as a resistance. Breakout, another one you stay long, but notice where you are. Look how far away you've moved from the T line. I'd have a sell stop maybe right here, or if it opens positive, immediately put your stop at today's close. It shouldn't come back down to that level. I forget which one we were asking. DXR. Good J-hook pattern. There's your classic fry pan bottom J-hook pattern. But what are the calculations you can see visually on this chart? Wave 1 and wave 3 are approximately the same. You're in the overbought area. If I was long, look how far away you are from the T line. My safety stop would be at today's open. If it comes back down through there, wave 3 is starting to go into another one, another wave to the downside. This was a failure right here at the 50. So here's a case, too. When it gapped up and traded up, the safety stop was at the open because the logic says if it comes back down through there, the 50 is going to be a relevant factor. In glue, this one you can be buying. Looks like it's breaking out. And Coty, stay long. Still a good looking chart. Did I do the right one? HQY. Stay short. Looks like you've got a bearish J-hook pattern. A cradle pattern usually has a relatively flat trading. Big down day, flat indecisive trading, big up day. Headboard, bed, footboard. Fry pan bottom or rounding bottom, you can see has pretty much that rounding bottom in it. Whoops. Did we do this? PRTK, just stay long. Tandem. Nothing yet. Got to get through this level. If you're long, you just watch to see what happens when it gets here. AVEO. Scoop type pattern, double doji. Make sure your volume stays hefty. You can stay long on this one. HRTX. Stay long on this, but I would use today's open as a stop. If it comes back down through there, the 50 is still acting as a resistance level. Didn't we do this one today already? Maybe not. J-hook pattern, you can buy this one on positive trading. Helix. Just stay long on this one. I'd watch to see what it does here, but I'd more anticipate it's coming back up to the 50. SRPT. Can I short it? Yes, on weakness. You got a dark cloud. You got a failure at the 50. You can see the downtrend. Oops. So your anticipation should be coming back down to the bottom of that downtrend. UTT, stay long, but again, be aware of how far away you are from the T-line. I'd have a safety stop right here. If it opens positive, then you put your safety stop at today's close. And Chris, another one, make sure your volume's big. If this one opens lower tomorrow, I'd close it out and go someplace else. It needs to open positive and trade positive to stay in it. It's a decent chart, but it needs more bullish confirmation. All right, still lots of good profitability going to be created in this market. I would suspect they're going to come back up to the 50, which is kind of testing the support level. That gives us a few more days of bullish move. So with that, everybody have a good evening. We will see you bright and early in the chat rooms. Remember, the picks are at night, and you can find the picks before the open on the chart so you can be analyzing what you want to be doing before the market opens. We'll see you in the morning.